Oh yeah, we about to get biblical. Mm-hmm.
Tell me, Jimmy, why do you play guitar with your teeth?
Well, actually, I really don't play with my teeth. I play with my ears. My ears.
Hey, Jimmy, what do you think of American cops?
American cops. Oh man, it's really great, man. They got some groovy uniforms stretched on their pants, clubs in their buckets. Wow, brothers like guns.
Tell me, Jimmy, do you smoke?
No.
Hey, Jimmy, why do you wear your hair like that?
Yeah, well, these stereo strands here, each one stands for a vibration, and they're all supposed to be good. But oh, there goes a strand there.
Did you put a spell on those two white boys?
Well, I think they put a spell on me. You know, we're all brothers and sisters, aren't we?
Jimmy, how much do you rely on Jimmy?
All right. Episode 4. I wanted to do a little intro for this one. This is a very special episode. We have a special guest today. Our guest is my 6 subscribers. Yeah. All right. I got 6 subscribers, and only one of them is visible, so I want to give a quick shout out to my boy, the Jeremiah. So thank you, sir. Thank you for your subscription. Yeah, the other ones are anonymous, so looks like Jeremiah is the only one with any fucking balls around here. I'm looking at his page here. He likes guitars. He likes tunes. He likes Aaron Ra. I have his autograph on a Richard Dawkins book. Anyone wants to buy it for 37 cents, let me know. And there I am on his subscriptions, Jackson's Public Domain. I don't see any other biblical podcasts, so looks like my competition on the Jeremiah is not too steep. All right. Yeah, so I've been doing this for about 4 weeks, and I'm enjoying it. I still read like an idiot, and apparently I could put someone to sleep in 15 seconds, which is the first comment I ever got. So I apologize for that, sir, if you're still asleep. I've been using Reddit to promote this podcast, and it's kind of a pain in the ass because Reddit doesn't like you to post more than once every 6 days. Actually, that's an exaggeration. It's more like every 10 minutes, but it's still a pain in the ass because it works pretty well. I've been getting traffic to my channel, but I just can't do it fast enough. I need something where I can post a million different things in 10 minutes. But Reddit just isn't having it. And I got instantly kicked off of Reddit Atheism Plus because I posted a video and my title was Spreading the Gospel of Our Lord Jesus Christ. I guess it wasn't obvious that that was a joke, but they didn't take it as one and they kicked me off. But fuck them anyway. Those SJWs trying to turn atheism into some kind of philosophy. So, whatever. So yeah, I'm enjoying this and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm literally only like halfway through Genesis, if even, and the Bible is huge. So this is going to take a long time. So anybody that wants to come with me along the journey, you're welcome and appreciated. I'm going to keep getting ideas and making this better so that we can, once we're on fucking Revelation, we can look back at when I did Genesis and see how terrible it is and see the progression. And then once I get through this, when I move on to whatever next public work that I want to go through, I'll have my my YouTuberism down, and I will be able to put out a very quality thing, for lack of better noises coming out of my mouth. I think it's going to be tough in the beginning. Well, it already is, getting people to know what the hell this is, because it seems like everywhere I post it, people think it's a Christian gospel podcast. They're like, how dare you spread the gospel here? You think you can spread the gospel? And then I'm sure once the Christians come across it, they're going to be like, ooh, a Bible podcast. And then they hear the word fuck, and then their nose melts off and their ears collapse inward like a black hole. Like a fucking, what's it called? When a black hole collapses. A quasar or something. All right. So that's enough of this. I'm sorry if everyone's asleep already. But here goes the episode, and I think this might be the one where I couldn't stop yawning. So, congratulations. You get to listen to me yawn, maybe.
Pop, 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 pop off at the mouth. Pop off at the mouth. Pop, pop, pop off at the mouth.
Okay, welcome to episode 4 of Jackson's Public Domain. Sorry about that. That was just a little sound check. See what it sounds like when I mix it down. See if there's any of that clipping static once it gets on some good speakers. So until this podcast becomes a Broadway musical produced by South Park guys, it's going to be like a lot of experimentation, so just bear with me. All right. So I think we left off on Genesis 10, right after Noah's sons found him naked and he got real pissed. All right, here we go. Genesis 10. These are the lines of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah. Sons were born to them after the flood. The descendants of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madi, Javan, Tubal, Mesech, and Tiras. The descendants of Gomer, Ashkenaz, like Ashkenazi Jews. Let's look that up. Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz. Looking that up on Wikipedia. Ashkenaz is a term found in a number of contexts. It is found in the Hebrew Bible to refer to one of the descendants of Noah, as well as to a reference to a kingdom of Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz is the first son of Gomer and a Japhetic patriarch in the Table of Nations. His name is likely a derivation from the Assyrian Askuza, a people who expelled the Cimmerians, that's Cimmerrians, from the Armenian area of the Upper Euphrates. A lot of Armenian stuff going on in Genesis. The Assyrian name is likely based on that of the Scythians, Scythians. The intrusive N in the Hebrew form of the name has been explained as a scribal mistake, confusing a wall with a new. Okay. The association of the term by medieval Jewry. It's a word, Jewry. With the geographical area centered on the Rhineland led to the Jewish culture that developed in the area to be called Ashkenazi, the only form that the term is still used today. So Ashkenazi is like a type of Jew today. Ashkenazi Jews are a Jewish diaspora population who coalesced as a distinct community in the Holy Roman Empire around the end of the first millennium. The traditional diaspora language of Ashkenazi Jews is Yiddish. Throughout their time in Europe, Ashkenazism have made many important contributions to philosophy, scholarship, literature, art, music, and science. All right, that's okay. So, Ashkenaz, that's one of the descendants of Gomer. Ashkenaz, Ripath, and Togarmah, the descendants of. It's funny how there's names like Ashkenaz, Ripath, Togarmah, and then there's Rachel, David, Samuel, Voldemort, Elisha and Tarshish, the Kittim and the Dodanim. From these, the maritime nation branched out. These are the descendants of Japheth by their lands, each with its language, their clans, and their nations. The descendants of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The descendants of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Septa, Rama, and Sabteca. Those are all strains of indica. The descendants of Rama, Sheba, and Dedan. Cush also begot Nimrod, who was the first man of might on earth. Nimrod. There was some story behind it. I think we're going to hear from this guy. He was a mighty hunter by the grace of the Lord, hence the saying, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter by the grace of the Lord. Okay. The mainstays of his kingdom were Babylon, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh. You're probably supposed to say like Kanech in the land of Shinar. From that land, Assur went forth and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, like Rehoboth, Delaware, Rehoboth-ir, Rehoboth-ir, Kala, and Rezin. Between Nineveh and Kala, that is the great city. This is like, you can't even follow this. You got to break it down and really get into it. And Mizraim begot Ludim and Anamim and Lebahem and Nephilim and Caphetorum, whence the Philistines came forth. The Philistines. Let's look that up. That's one I hear quite often. Philistines. Let's see. Philistines were an ancient people primarily known for their conflict with the Israelites described in the Bible. The primary source about the Philistines is the Hebrew Bible, but they are first attested in reliefs at the temple of Ramses III at Medinet Habu. They are called Peliset, accepted as cognate with Hebrew. The parallel Assyrian term is Philistines. The biblical description identifies 5 Philistine cities: Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Ekron, and Gath. Okay, so they're basically Egyptians, right? Gaza is a city in Egypt, correct? Never mind. Disregard. Gaza. No shit. The Gaza Strip. I was thinking of Giza. Okay. Gaza City is a Palestinian city in the Gaza Strip with a population of 515,000, making it the largest city in the state of Palestine, inhabited since at least the 15th century BC. Okay. So the Philistines, non-Semitic people of ancient southern Palestine who came into conflict with the Israelites during the 12th and 11th centuries. They were non-Semitic. I don't really get what Semitic is, because I know Jews are Semitic, but also some Arabs are. Let's get to the bottom of this. Semitic. Relating or denoting to a family of languages that includes Hebrew, Arabic, Aramaic, and certain ancient languages such as Phoenician and Akkadian, constituting the main subgroup of Afro-Asiatic family. And I don't think anywhere else in the world is more complicated than the Middle East. I'm sure China is pretty complicated. But, I mean, it's just so much. All right, so my question is, whenever I hear anti-Semite or anti-Semitic, I always think anti-Jew. So does anti-Semitism include some Arabs? Let's see, anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is a hostility to, prejudice, or discrimination against Jews. A person who holds such positions is called an anti-Semite. Anti-Semitism is generally considered to be a form of racism. That's another thing. Is being a Jew a race or a religion, or both? It's definitely a religion. Is it a race? I don't know. People get mad if you say it is, but then definitely people consider anti-Semitism racism. I mean, it definitely gets thrown in the same bucket, or whatever the saying is. All right. A person who holds such positions is called an anti-Semite. Anti-Semitism is generally considered to be a form of racism. Anti-Semitism may be manifested in many ways, ranging from expressions of hatred of or discrimination against individual Jews to organized pogroms by mobs, state police, or even military attacks on entire Jewish communities. Okay. Sorry for that noise if you heard it. Yeah, that is another long research effort there. Anti-Semitism. All right, let's get back to, where were we? Philistines? Let's see here. Like Nimrod. Like, what was it about Nimrod? I know the term Nimrod, like, synonymous with idiot. So what did he do? What stupid shit did he do? Let's look up Nimrod. He must have pissed God off. Nimrod. Okay. Oh, he looks pretty badass. Nimrod. Oh wait, that's like a comic book hero. All right. Nimrod, a biblical figure described as a king of Shinar, was, according to the book of Genesis and books of Chronicles, the son of Cush, the great-grandson of Noah. The Bible states that he was a mighty hunter before the Lord, began to be mighty in the earth. Extra biblical traditions associating him with the Tower of Babel, that's where I was thinking of, led to his reputation as a king who was rebellious against God. So did he build the Tower of Babel? Attempts to match Nimrod with historically attested figures have failed. He does not seem to present any one personage known to history, and in reality is more likely a conflation of several real and or fictional figures of Mesopotamian antiquity. Does everyone know what Mesopotamia means? Let's do a little side thing there. Mesopotamia. Okay. Mesopotamia was a historical region situated within the Tigris and Euphrates river system, in modern days roughly corresponding to most of Iraq plus Kuwait, the eastern parts of Syria, southeastern Turkey, and regions along the Turkish, Syrian, and Iran-Iraq borders. I believe it was also referred to as the Fertile Crescent, and if you look at a map such as the one on Wikipedia, you can see that there's a lot of green in between those two rivers because there's a lot of water in that area, surrounded by lots of desert. And I think that's the area that Saddam was really fucking with and damming off the waters and fucking his people over there. I saw a little documentary about that on Netflix, I think. Okay, back to, what are we talking about here? Nimrod. All right. Where were we at here? Mesopotamia. The first biblical mention of Nimrod is in the Table of Nations. Table of Nations, Genesis 10. This is pretty good because as soon as I read something, I look it up. Wikipedia tells you right where it came from, so it's like we're on the same page here. It's very complimentary to what I'm trying to do here. First biblical mention of Nimrod is in the Table of Nations. He is described as a son of Cush, grandson of Ham, and great-grandson of Noah, and as a mighty one in the earth and a mighty hunter above the Lord. This is repeated in the first book of Chronicles 1:10, and the land of Nimrod, used as a synonym for Assyria or Mesopotamia, is mentioned in the book of Micah 5:6. See, I'm getting better at reading. Can you tell? I'm going to be a Bible expert. I'm sure the cash will just start flowing in after that happens. I guess this is a quote from Nimrod. And they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, the land of Nimrod and the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from Assyrian, when he cometh into our land, and when he tradeth within our borders. Genesis says that the beginning of his kingdom, quote unquote, were the towns of Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar, Mesopotamia. Understood variously to imply that he either founded these cities, ruled over them, or both, owing to an ambiguity in the original Hebrew text. It is unclear whether it is he or Ashur who additionally built Nineveh, Rezin, Rehoboth, Ir, and Kala. Both interpretations are reflected in various English versions. Sir Walter Raleigh devoted several pages in his history book of blah blah blah. We got a Tower of Babel here. Let's skip ahead. All right, let's check out the Tower of Babel. Let's see what that's all about. Tower of Babel was a key kingdom in okay, I clicked on the tower. I clicked on Babel and it took me to Babylon. Was a key kingdom in ancient Mesopotamia. The city was built upon the Euphrates River and divided in equal parts along its left and right banks. So is Babylon like an actual place you can still go to? Are there ruins? Let's see. Let's look up Babylon ruins. Babylon. I can't spell ruins, but that's okay. Google will know what I'm talking about. Babylon ruins. Sweet. Oh yeah, the gates of Babel or whatever, right? The big blue thing with lions on it. The gates of Babel. All right, never mind. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to look at pictures on an audio podcast. You live and you learn. Okay. Let's move on here. All right. Let's look up Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel is a Near Eastern account recorded in the book of Genesis. That is my impression of a guy from Pakistan transforming into a Mexican. It is an origin myth meant to explain why the world's people speak different languages. I'm sure that's how it happened. I love these origin myths. Everybody's got them. An origin myth is a myth that purports to describe the origin of some feature of the natural or social world. One type of origin myth is the cosmogonic myth, which describes the creation of the world. However, many cultures have stories set after the cosmogonic myth, which describe the origin of natural phenomena and human institutions within a pre-existing universe. Let's see. Founding myth. Do we have some examples? No. All right. I think we get the gist of what that means. Okay. Tower of Babel. According to the story, a united humanity in the generations following the Great Flood, speaking a single language and migrating eastward, comes to the land of Shinar. There they agree to build a city and a tower tall enough to reach heaven. God, observing their city and tower, confounds their speech so they can no longer understand each other and scatters them around the world. Oh man, that sounds like a Native American myth. That's pretty awesome. I mean, the story of Adam and Eve is pretty far-fetched, but this one is very this one sounds like Dr. Seuss made this up, you know? Like, first of all, how could they possibly think they could build a who would be stupid enough to think they could do that with like stone? They're going to build a stone tower tall enough to reach heaven? Who would even try that? Like the greatest architects of this time were still smart enough to know that's not possible. And then was God like, oh, they built a tower 300 feet tall. I hope they don't build it 6 more miles to reach heaven. I gotta hone my shit talking skills. I know. Let's see, where are we at here? Sorry, I'm always tired in the morning. I'm more of a night person. My cats are about to fight. You might hear a scream. Okay. Where are we at? All right, yeah. So they built the tower, and God was like, They agreed to build a city to reach heaven. Tower. God, observing their city and tower, confounds their speech so that they can no longer, and scatters them around the world. Some modern scholars have associated the Tower of Babel with known structures, notably the Etemenaki and ziggurat, a ziggurat dedicated to the Mesopotamian ziggurat. Those are like Arabic pyramids. Not necessarily Arabic, but like non-Egyptian. A ziggurat is a massive structure built in ancient Mesopotamia and the western Iranian plateau. Oh, he backed down. They're not going to fight. He usually doesn't back down. It has the form of a terraced compound of successfully receding stories or levels. Notable ziggurats include the Great Ziggurat of Ur, Ziggurat of blah 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 near Baghdad, and now destroyed Tamnaki. Why is it destroyed? Was it ISIS? Please tell me it wasn't ISIS. Is the name Etemenaki is the name of a ziggurat dedicated to Marduk in the city of Babylon of the 6th century BCE Neo-Babylonian dynasty, originally 91 meters in height. So that's probably like 300 feet. Little remains of it now except ruins. Etemenaki is considered a possible inspiration for the biblical story of the Tower of Babel. How did it get destroyed? In 331 BCE, Alexander the Great captured Babylon and orders repairs to Etemenaki. When he returned to the ancient city in 323 BCE, let's just say BC, all right? He noted that no progress had been made. If you're going to change it to BCE, what time are we still living in? Haven't you heard the Louis C.K. bit here? I mean, it's not really the year 2017, all right? So let's just stick to BC and AD. Even if you're not religious or whatever, let's just fucking stick to it. It's so much easier. Before Christian era. Let's just say before Christ. It's just easier. Christ. And it's better to end things with Christ. Before Christ. The Babylonian Chronicles. Why am I reading that? Okay. Where are we? Been reading a lot of Wikipedia. I'm like so deep in there, I don't even know. I think we were on Philistines. That's how far we went. Let's go back. Let's go back here. Philistines. Canaan. All right. Okay. Whence? Okay. The calf. So, blah blah blah. Whence the Philistines came forth. Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites. Stay away from them. The Arkites and Sinites, the Arvadites and the Zemarites and the Hamathites. Man, if these people did not really exist, somebody had to sit down and come up with these names. Afterward, the clans of the Canaanites spread out. The original Canaanite territory extended from Sidon as far as Gerar near Gaza and as far as Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim near Lasha. These are the descendants of Ham. Ham. According to their clans and languages, by their lands and nations. Sons were also born to Shem, ancestor of all the descendants of Eber and older brother of Japheth. The descendants of Shem, Elam, Ashur, Arpachshad, Shad, Lud, and Aram. The descendants of Aram, Uz, Hul, Gether, Mash, Abishad. Two sons were born to Eber. Jesus. Was divided. The brothers, Jadhan, Shebah, Uzal, Buzal, Obal, Obamel, Sheba, the settlements extended from Mesha as far as Sephar, the hill country to the east. These are the descendants of Shem according to their clans and languages, by their lands according to their nations. These are the groupings of Noah's descendants according to their origins, by their nations, and from the nations branched out over the earth after the flood. Whew. We got through it. All right. Genesis 11. Everyone on earth had the same language. Oh, here we go. And the same word. Genesis, man, I'm telling you, they got it. They got it all. We're only on Genesis, and look at all this stuff we're learning here. All these things that you kind of knew when you were a kid, you kind of heard about them, didn't really care. They taught you in Sunday school, whatever. It's terrible when you're a kid, but when you're older, it gets a little interesting. You start understanding some history. You want to know what's going on in the Middle East. You need to know this stuff. All right. And then once you read the Bible, you can read the Quran, because you probably should read the Bible first, right? Especially the Old Testament. All right. Jackson, go. 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 Sorry, my giant beast of a dog is just panting, staring at me. Where are we? I'm always scared it's going to stop recording. Okay. All right. Genesis 11. Everyone on earth had the same language and the same words. Did they also have the same toes and the same feet? Sorry, that was dumb. You get what I'm saying, though? The redundancy here. And as they migrated from the east, they came upon a valley in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them hard." Brick served them as stone, and bitumen served them as mortar. Bitumen. Let's see what that's all about. I've heard of that. Bitumen. 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 A black viscous mixture of hydrocarbons obtained naturally or as residue from petroleum distillation. It is used for road. Oh, so it's like asphalt. Okay, yeah. Asphalt, also known as bitumen, sticky, black, highly viscous liquid or semi-solid form of petroleum. All right. Is it flammable? Is it flammable? Is bitumen flammable? Sorry, I just want to know this. I don't know why. Is bitumen flammable? I'm just wondering if they had the ability to make anything with it, such as torches, blah, blah, blah. In their natural state, the oil sands themselves aren't particularly flammable. Bitumen has a consistency of molasses at room temperature, is mixed with sand, making it burn at a slower pace if ignited. 80% of it buried deeper. So, yeah, maybe you could make a torch with it or something. All right. So they used bitumen as mortar. So they had mud bricks and asphalt, and they thought they were going to build a tower to heaven. You know, God is much smaller in the Old Testament. You know, he's just like a dude hanging out real close. But now that we can basically travel space, God is like this even more mysterious entity that can't be seen or heard by anyone. Even though back in the day, he used to be like, hey, you guys, where are you? You're doing something I don't like. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell you exactly what you're doing and why I don't like it. Let's see. And they said, come, let us build a city and a tower with its top in the sky to make them a name for ourselves. Else we shall be scattered all over the world. Oh, so they already knew? The Lord came down to look at the city and tower that man had built. And the Lord said, if one people with one language for all, this is how they have begun to act, then nothing that they may propose will be out of reach. Let us then go down and confound their speech. He always says us. Is he just like, is he talking about like him and his crew, like his angels and stuff? Or is this the Holy Spirit here? Let us then go down and confound their speech there, so that they shall not understand one another's speech. Oh, and then they never figured that out. All right. Yeah, so he's, I don't know. They make him seem like he's very threatened by man. Like man has a little bit of power over God in the Old Testament, you know? He's like, uh-oh, they might build something high enough to reach heaven. That's so interesting. Like, obviously, at this point, we know heaven ain't right above the atmosphere because we've been up there. So, did God think they were going to build a tower like 13 light years high? And he was like, oh, I better put a stop to that. He was like, they're going to run out of bricks. They're going to build spaceships. They're going to start mining asteroids for bitumen and mud bricks. And then in like 15 million years, they might reach heaven. God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Shit. All right, I got 10 minutes. Let's just get through this here. All right, let us go down and confound their speech there. And by the way, no matter how stupid something I say on here, I'm still putting it out. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to edit it. I'm just going to put it out there. You know, it might take me a year before this is not the worst podcast ever. But you know what? By Job, I'm going to do it. Or my name isn't Nephetulahim. All right. So the Lord scattered them from there over the face of the earth, and they stopped building the city. Did he also change their faces, like to make them, some of them look Chinese, some of them to look African? That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confounded the speech of the whole earth, and from there the Lord scattered them over the face of the earth. This is the line of Shem. Shem was that whole story really was one paragraph. That story could have been so much better. All right. This is the line of Shem. Shem was 100 years old when he begat Arpachshad. 2 years after the flood. After the birth of Arpachshad, Shem lived 500 years and begot sons and daughters. That sounded like Shane Smith. And begot sons and daughters. When Arpachshad had lived 35 years, he begot Shelah. Oh no. I'm just looking at a page of years, ridiculous ages that aren't possible, and names. When Eber had lived 34 years, he begot Peleg. After the birth of Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and begot sons and daughters. It just keeps going like this. It's too much. I'm not doing it. If you want to take a look, it's Genesis 11:12. All right, I'm skipping that. Going to 11:26. When Terah had lived 70 years, he begot Abram. All right. Abram becomes Abraham. And the Lord said to Abram, go forth and sweet. All right, that's coming up next. He begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now, this is the line of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran begot Lot. Lot. That's one. That's somebody. That's the dude that gave his daughters up to the rapists, right? Haran died in the lifetime of his father Terah. Oh, that sucks when a father outlives his child. Of the Chaldeans. Chaldeans. I know that word. Chaldeans. East County. There's quite a few Chaldeans out here. Let's look up Chaldeans. Chaldeans, I believe, are Christian Arabs. Am I correct? Let's see here. Chaldean Christians. Let's look up Chaldea. Chaldea was a Semitic-speaking nation which existed between the late 10th or early 9th and mid-6th centuries BC, after which it and its people were absorbed and assimilated into Babylonia. It was located in the marshy land of the far southeastern corner of Mesopotamia and briefly came to rule Babylon. During a period of weakness in the East Semitic-speaking kingdom of Babylonia, new tribes of West Semitic-speaking migrants arrived in the region from the Levant between the 11th and 9th centuries BC. Okay. Chaldean dynasty. Although the last rulers, Nabonidus and Belshazzar. These nomad Chaldeans settled in the far southeastern portion of Babylonia, chiefly on the left bank of the Euphrates. Okay. Chaldeans are typically Christian. The name appears... That wasn't from Wikipedia, I was saying that. The name appears in the Hebrew Bible as Kasdim and the Aramaic as Chaldo. Well, the Hebrew Bible, that's in Hebrew, but in this one, modern Chaldean Christians. The term Chaldean is fairly recently been revived, initially to describe those Assyrians who broke from the Assyrian Church of the East between the 7th and 19th centuries and entered communion with the Catholic Church. This is a historic, ethnic, and geographic inaccuracy. After initially calling it the Church of Assyria and Mosul, blah, 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 it was their named Chaldean Christian Church, 1683. The term Chaldean Catholic should thus be understood purely as a Christian denomination, much like Baptist or Anglican. It is noteworthy that the term Chaldean already had the long history of misapplication by Rome, having previously Greek. Sorry, this is not helpful, I know. Alright, let's type San Diego Chaldeans. There's a lot of Chaldeans in San Diego, as I understand. St. Peter Chaldean Catholic Cathedral in El Cajon. That's where they're at. Chaldeans, El Cajon. Fleeing ISIS, Chaldeans travel underground railroad to San Diego. Let's see here. This is a news article from August 18th, 2017. Is that today? Sure is. Fleeing ISIS, Chaldeans travel underground railroad to El Cajon. Last summer, as ISIS fighters swept toward his home in northern Iraq, slaughtering infidels and demolishing their communities, Fadi Hirmiz grew frantic. ISIS was getting close. Oh, I gotta go. I'll finish this. ISIS was getting closer and closer to our village. Hirmiz said through an interpreter, "I was afraid for my family, for our kids." 38-year-old Chaldean Catholic Hirmiz was trapped in the sectarian crossfire ravaging Iraq. The Shia Muslims leading Baghdad's central government and army seemed deaf to his pleas. And this Christian knew the Sunni-led ISIS, also known as Semitic State, would be worse, demanding that he, his wife, and 2 children convert to Islam or die under the sword. Damn, son. Poor and illiterate, Hirmiz could think only of one place to turn, El Cajon. How did he know about El Cajon? How the fuck did he know? I didn't even know about El Cajon until I bought a guitar. El Cajon. So it's a city in East County, San Diego. It's pronounced, it's Elcajon. It means the cabinet in Spanish, I believe. El Cajon. So when I was in Florida, Pensacola, I went and bought a guitar, a Taylor. I didn't know Taylors were made in San Diego. Inside it said, made in El Cajon, California. I was like, what's El Cajon? Didn't have a smartphone at that time, so I just assumed it was pronounced El Cajon and moved on. And then I ended up moving to San Diego, and I said, oh, El Cajon. And this is where Taylor guitars are made. And this is where all the Chaldeans live. Yeah. So how do they know? How do they find out about El Cajon all the way over in Iraq? The word just gets there, huh? My wife's, okay, poor and illiterate Hirmiz could only think of one place to turn, El Cajon. My wife's cousin is a friend of Mark Arabo, Hirmiz said, citing a prominent East County Chaldean. That's how we got help. Okay, so instead of just asking a bunch of dumb questions, I could have just kept reading. Today in El Cajon's 60,000 plus Chaldean population, after Detroit, the second largest concentration in the United States, there's a palpable sense of panic. There's a sense of panic in El Cajon. While these that's where I work, by the way, El Cajon. Oh wait, no, I shouldn't have said that. Who gives a shit? While these refugees have found a safe haven here, the friends or relatives they left behind in Iraq now face what one man calls a Christian genocide. That man is Mark Arabo, president and CEO of the Neighborhood Market Association, which represents dozens of independent retail stores, most of them owned by ethnic Chaldeans. Shout out to International Produce. I don't know if they're Chaldeans, but that's a great store. Born and raised in East County, that explains why his name's Mark. Arabo is a first-generation Iraqi American, yet this 32-year-old retains an immigrant's stereotypical drive. Impeccably groomed and tailored, he has a beltway politician's polish and a true believer's passion. He's like a preacher whose fire and brimstone servants can make his own congregation nervous. Eesh. He blasts Washington politics, including those who have received his campaign donations, for their apathetic and pathetic response to this crisis. Obama is failing on his issue completely, he said. Our Congress is turning blind eye to a full-blown genocide. Yeah, we're not really concerned with genocides. It's more about wherever the money's at. All right. I should have left for work a couple minutes ago, but this is a long. I can't read this whole article. If anyone wants to finish this article, I mean, by the time anyone reads this, it's going to be like months later probably. But it still will be an interesting article. It's called Fleeing ISIS. Chaldeans Travel Underground Railroad to El Cajon. San Diego Union Tribune. I just want to see this one last part here, though. What is this? Pop-up ads. No. Let's see. Where'd it go? You know, I don't like Firefox. I'm a Chrome guy. Dangerous hairstyles. Chaldeans have been settling in El Cajon for decades, often one step ahead of their tormentors. Koda's family, for instance, arrived in 1980 when her father feared retribution from Iraq's then ruler Saddam Hussein. We left everything behind, she said, but at least we had passports and identification. This is the hardest time for the Middle East, the hardest time for Iraq. Federal statistics support that claim. What does this have to do with hairstyles? Liquor store, death threats from militant Islamists. She said, worked as a barber, feared for his life and his crime. He was making American hairstyles, she recalled. And they didn't like that. They threatened him. American hairstyle. What the hell is an American hairstyle? High and tight. You are meeting with him. If you saw a stranger, you are not Salam. She would eventually recognize and embrace her long-lost husband. Okay, I gotta go. We left off here on Genesis 11:31, and because they mentioned Chaldeans, so I went off down a rabbit hole on that one. But yeah, that's the whole point of this. See, you don't just read something, you look stuff up as you're reading it, no matter what it is. You're reading a Farewell to Arms, whatever he mentions, you look it up, and then you understand. You know what was going on through the mind of an ambulance driver in World War I in Italy. And that is the end of episode 4. Thank you and good morning.